Hi everybody and welcome to Keep It Simple. I promised I would do a Fat Bomb Friday, and so I'm going to do a couple of my favorite recipes and follow along. I'm going to show you the ingredients. One of them is going to be the Carlsons Keto puck made with keto meal. So let's get started, and you'll have to excuse the videoing. I don't have any kind of fancy setup of a smooth or anything, so it's going to be my little kind of country bumpkin setup. But here we go. I will show you one of my favorite Fat Bomb recipes and just kind of sweet treats that I like to make. Let's take a look at the ingredients first. So we have macadamia nuts here. I've got my Lily's chocolate chips here. Some vanilla, pumpkin seeds, pecans. These are hemp seeds and powdered sugar and some almonds. Over here is going to be, we're going to put some coconut, unsweetened coconut, 100% peanut butter or almond butter. You can use either one. If you do not like coconut, it's not a problem. Just leave it out. If you like almond butter over peanut butter, that's fine. You can use whatever nut butter that you prefer. And as far as nuts, if you don't have, like I don't have walnuts and I don't have Spanish peanuts, so I'm going to do pecans and I'm going to do pumpkin seeds along with some macadamia nuts. I've never tried that one before, but I can't imagine it tasting bad. So on DSK, I have not had any nuts. 2 weeks, Amber, no nuts. That's crazy. But I love my nuts. And so this is a great sweet treat. I keep it in the freezer. It's yummy just to grab really quickly. Still healthy, high fat, and I'll give you the macros at the end. But let's get started. So I'm going to set that up there so you can see me. And we will just start with ingredients. Is 1 cup of peanut butter or almond butter. So a lot of times, rather than just wiping out my entire jar of like peanut butter, I'll usually do half and half. So I may do like half peanut butter and then half almond butter. Plus I know peanut butter is a little bit cheaper than the almond butter, so you can do whatever you have on hand. Now, I buy natural peanut butter. It doesn't have any sugar in it. It's 100% peanuts and salt. So here we go. We got 1 cup of peanut butter. Put this in a microwavable bowl. Okay, next we're going to add 1 1/4 cups of the Lily's chocolate chips. I keep my chocolate chips in the freezer. A friend from high school used to do that, and I loved eating chocolate chips out of the freezer for some reason, so now I just keep my chocolate chips in the freezer. 1 cup of the Lily's chocolate chips. Next is going to be about a tablespoon of Swerve. I use Lakanto. A lot of times you can get coupons from them. However, I have done my comparison because that's what I do. I'm budget savvy, and I have found it's actually cheaper to just buy it on Amazon, even though they may run sales at like 50% off. Next thing is 1/2 cup of unrefined coconut oil. Unrefined coconut oil solid is this, and that is 1/2 cup. So we're going to take 1/2 cup. I'm almost out. I need to buy some more. This is probably one of my favorite treats. I actually got the recipe from Dr. Burke. Okay, microwavable bowl. All these ingredients, we're going to stick it in the microwave and we're going to melt it down. I like to start at 1 minute. After 30 seconds, stop it, mix it. Another 30 seconds, stop, mix it. You just don't want to scorch the chocolate chips. So while that's going on in our bowl over here, we can go ahead and start adding our other ingredients. So it calls for 1 1/2 cups of unsweetened shredded coconut. This is just the fine flakes. And if you don't like coconut, that's fine. Not a big deal. Just leave it out. I happen to be obsessed with coconut. So I put it in a lot of my sweet treats. Okay, next is 1 cup of Spanish peanuts. I do not have Spanish peanuts, so I am using pecans. I have this neat little pecan grinder. You can buy them already grinded though. That works fine too, or just use a knife and chop them up if you don't like kitchen gadgetry like me. Okay, so that went for a minute and I didn't stop it after 30 seconds because I'm multitasking and I'm trying to do several different things, but it's fine. It looks like the chocolate chips maybe need to melt just a little bit more. So just mix it up good. Let's do another 30 seconds. Okay, so back to the nut mixture. We're gonna do 1 cup of the pecans. We need a little bit more pecans. That was only about 1/2 cup. This little nut grinder is awesome, by the way. I remember my grandmother had one and it was really old and yellow mustard color, but I just got mine on Amazon for $9. I can put the link below, but it's awesome if you need chopped nuts. So I'm kind of, like I said, budget savvy. I buy my pecans whole in a big bag, usually from Costco or Sam's, and then I just grind them up. You actually pay more for chopped nuts, obviously. Somebody else is having to do the work. So I just save money there and I do it myself. All right, let's check this out. This is looking nice and melted, and it's going to be very soupy. It is going to be very soupy, which is okay. Okay, so we did the pecans, but the recipe calls for 1 cup of Spanish peanuts. This is my version, by the way. I kind of tweaked this recipe. 1 cup of walnuts. I don't have walnuts, so I'm actually going to do macadamia nuts. I don't think I have a cup in there. It's probably 1/2 cup because them nuts are expensive. 1 cup of hemp seeds. I'll put the recipe in the link below too. Okay, hemp seeds are awesome, by the way. If you haven't started using hemp seeds and things, you really need to start doing it. I make my overnight oats with hemp seeds. I put this on my salad. It has 14 grams of fat for 3 tablespoons. 10 grams of protein and 2 carbs. It's got 1 fiber in it. But we've got 1 cup of hemp seeds. I'm gonna do about 1/2 cup because I have some pumpkin seeds here, and I'm gonna put the other half pumpkin seeds. Get creative. You don't have to follow the recipe exactly. Whatever nuts you have work great, but I would try to keep it to at least, 3 different type of nuts. Okay, so the last ingredient is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So why, I don't know. I'm just gonna put it in the liquid mixture here. Stir that up good. Oh, yikes. Stir that up good. And then all you gotta do is just pour it over the nut mixture. Oh my word. That's amazing. Excuse me. I made a mess. Okay, so now that we have that, also sipping on my hot beverage, this is 2 tablespoons of a cinnamon butter fat bomb blended with 1 cup of coffee and 1/2 cup of coconut milk. Cheers. It's delicious. I don't typically do coffee during the week. I've been doing the chia, I've been doing the chai tea, and I love that too. It's delicious. But on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, my husband's off and he makes coffee. So he always leaves me a cup on the counter. And then I do what I want to do with it because he puts heavy cream and butter and cayenne pepper and stuff like that in his. And I do not. Okay, so once you get it mixed up, super easy. Just get a large sheet pan like this. And all you're gonna do is just spread it on the pan. Nothing fancy. You don't have to, you could use like a melon baller if you wanted, but it's probably a little bit too liquidy to do that. So the best thing to do that I like is spread it out. Kind of want it to be even. In fact, it'll fill the whole pan. Just make sure everything is touching, nothing's by itself. Well, I guess that doesn't really matter because when it comes out of the fridge or the freezer, after it's hardened for a few hours, you're just gonna break it up. But that's kind of what it looks like. And then you just pop it in the freezer. Or the fridge, wherever you got room. That is what I love about coconut oil. That's what I love about this stuff and the cacao butter. This stuff, when you melt it down and then you put it in the fridge or the freezer, whatever mold you put it in, it hardens back up, and it's pretty cool. So anyway, that's that for it's called a coconut bar, and it's my version. The macros are 325 calories, 28 grams of fat, 9 carbs, so a little higher in the carbs. Treat it like a kind of a special treat. You wouldn't probably want to eat it every day. 9 carbs, protein 8. So it's a little tricky because when it comes out of the fridge or the freezer and you start to kind of break up the pieces of bark, and I put those pieces of bark just in a Tupperware and then I keep it in the fridge so it stays firm. But if you leave it out, it will absolutely fall apart. It will not stay firm on you, unlike the keto puck, the Carlson keto puck that I make. But this is awesome. I put it in the fridge for about 4 hours and then just break up the pieces of bark. It's a little tough, so as far as counting the macros and like how many pieces of bark and stuff, I just try to keep the chunks of bark about the same size, and I kind of just break it up with like a knife or a fork or something, but I try to keep the pieces the same size so I know, you know, what my macros are. And that would be for like a pretty good size little chunk of bark. So that's that. Okay, so on to our next recipe, and that is the keto meal. We got a lot of stuff going on over here. Okay, so this was my version. I've tweaked it a couple of times, and I like how it's turned out. I've tried several different versions. This happens to probably be my favorite, but it is super, super easy. So it calls for 1 cup. We're gonna take our microwavable bowl again. I'm gonna rinse this out really quick. I really got to get better about this recording in the kitchen. I'm sorry, guys. I'm working on getting like a handheld thing that can prop up. Okay, so 1 cup of cacao butter. I love this stuff. If you're not using this stuff in keto, you really need to try it. It's pretty awesome. It's great to just blend up in your coffee. It's great to melt down and put in your keto pucks or your keto bricks. So yeah, we've got 1 cup of the cacao butter. This bag on Amazon runs about $12 a bag. It'll last us about a month because normally in your coffee, in my coffee, I only blend 1 tablespoon of this. So this does call for quite a bit as far as putting, you know, it in the Carlsons keto puck. So this we want to put in the microwave. Let's melt it down. You could do it on the stove. Whoa, we don't want 10 minutes. You could do it on the stove, but it's just quicker. I'm all about quick. So 1 cup of the cocoa butter, the cacao butter. Next is a teaspoon of coffee grinds. I do 4 Sigmatic decaf mushroom coffee mix, but you can use any kind of coffee mix. I love the smell of coffee. What's so funny is I'm really not a big coffee drinker, but I absolutely love the smell of coffee. Okay, so 1 teaspoon of coffee grinds. Where'd my little thing go? Coffee grinds. Next, you're gonna have a 1/2 tablespoon of ground flaxseed. Grab my flaxseed. So I keep a lot of things in the freezer. I'm kind of quirky, but I keep my nuts in the freezer, certain flours I keep in the freezer, like my hemp seeds I keep in the freezer. But this is ground flaxseed. You don't have flaxseed, it's not a problem. You don't have to have it. It's just some extra nutrients. I believe it's in Keto Bricks recipe. So let's, okay, this needs to be melted more. It needs to be a liquid, not chunks. So another minute, just watch it. 1 cup of cacao butter. We have out 1 teaspoon of coffee grinds. We have a 1/2 tablespoon of ground flaxseed. We're gonna need 1 tablespoon of hemp seeds. You can buy hemp seeds at, I have found it at Marshall's and Home Goods, by the way. Less than 1 tablespoon of cacao nibs. If you don't have cacao nibs, it's not a big deal either. It does kind of give it that bittery, chocolate, crunchy taste, but some people don't like them. You can leave it out if you want to. No, I'm not. I get it on Amazon, but I think this actual particular bag came from Marshall's, Home Goods. It's some of the crazy stuff you'll find at those places. Okay, we're getting there. It is, if you have bigger chunks, which by the way, the cacao butter comes in huge chunks. So I use a processor and blend it up. This is kind of weird, it's taking so long to melt. Maybe it does do better on the stove. I feel like I had done it once before. So we've got everything else measured out. We're gonna do 3 scoops of the keto meal. So the keto meal is 215 calories. This is for 1 scoop. Here's your scoop. 215 calories. We have 17.5 grams of fat, 3.3 carbs, 2.6 sugar. It has sucralose in it, and 10 protein. I can't eat this. It has, the very first ingredient is eggs. Yep, it has whole egg powder, and I looked up egg powder, and it's dried eggs. So I can't have it, but I make them for my husband. Everything else in it is just, it's got some good BCAAs, magnesium, calcium, 400 and something grams of sodium. It's got artificial flavors. That's kind of a disappointment, but I'm thinking the new one, someone said, is they are not putting sucralose in the new keto meal. All right, so it took 3 times 1 minute to finally get it to a liquid. So let's just mix it a little bit, make sure all the chunks. And then we're just gonna add our ingredients. So we've got 1 cup cacao butter melted. We have our 1 teaspoon of coffee grounds. We have our half a tablespoon of ground flaxseed. We have 1 tablespoon of hemp seeds. We have our cacao nibs. Where are they? I got so much junk out here. I don't even know where my stuff is. Cacao nibs, here we go. It says 1 tablespoon. So, all right, we'll put in 1 tablespoon. And 3 scoops of keto meal. So keto meal is not cheap. I'm just gonna tell you, it's not cheap. It's like 70 bucks a bottle. Probably a good thing that we're both not eating it. Only my husband has it. And he only has it every now and then. It's not like every day. You know, just in general, I don't drink a lot of protein shakes or anything like that. I just want to get my nutrients from whole foods. So unless I'm in a super hurry, or I'm like lacking protein at the end of the day, I will have a protein shake. But other than that, I don't rely a lot on supplements. I just want to eat whole foods. Most of your supplements, they just have a bunch of stuff in them, like artificial flavors, and they've got the sucralose and stuff in them. So I just eat whole foods as much as I can. But, you know, we don't live in a perfect world, and so I try to stay pretty realistic and do things in moderation. Okay, so we've got it all mixed up. Here it is. I'm gonna go grab my molds. I love these silicone molds. This is about $9 off Amazon. And you're basically just gonna pour it in the molds. It gives you kind of about a half, I would say about a half an inch thick, and about 1.5 inches in diameter. I believe it's going to give me 12. I think that's what I told somebody else on a comment on this video. All right, so it looks like around 11. I could have gotten 12. I probably filled some of them a little too high. So just for calculating macros, if you want, you can like scoop some out of the other ones. I can see where I overfilled a couple of them. And we should be able to get one final one. The color just looks a lot like coffee. So it's kind of dark. And you just stick it in the freezer. I will tell you, another great thing about cacao butter is you can leave this. I put this in my husband's lunch. He doesn't eat till noon sometimes, or when I did. He does OMAD, which is 1 meal a day now, but it It could be in his lunchbox for hours and it would still be firm. It would be soft, but it would still be firm. It wouldn't be completely mush like some of your stuff does with the coconut oil. That stuff will just completely disintegrate on you and melt down. The cacao butter is awesome. It stays pretty firm and it stays solid. And you can keep them in the fridge. You don't necessarily have to keep them in the freezer. They're going to be really hard in the freezer. They're going to be cold and softer, but still firm in the fridge. So in the fridge we go. These are a couple that were finished. These are a little bit lighter. These are the macadamia nut. This is through DSK. It's got protein powder, macadamia nut, coconut oil. I'm going to be honest, they're not my favorite to eat, but they are a great fat source when you need fat and to get it in. I have found that it's just easier for me to eat these if I just blend them in my coffee in the morning. And so they're perfect. Like you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. You're starting to get your fats in earlier in the day, which I highly recommend when you're doing keto. It's best to log everything as close as possible in the morning, so you're not at the end of the day like I was last night and I still needed 60 something, I needed 30 grams of fat more. So I ended up eating a fat bomb that had 16 grams of fat. I was still 15 off, but it was better than not having anything. With the DSK, I will say in phase 1, there is kind of a part where you're checking your threshold for fat and protein and carbs. And I've just kind of noticed I actually do a little bit better with just a few less fat, like 10 grams of fat less. I'm at 153 right now based on my macros. I'm at 1,700 calories, about 153 fat, 65 protein, and I'm allowed up to 21 carbs, but I've been trying not to go over 10 carbs unless I'm doing a high like intensity HIIT training day. Then I'll usually have like 15 or so. But I've been hitting all my macros as far as that go. You do want to try to come within 5 of what you're set at. So I'm at 150 something as far as macros for my fat. So I try to come 155 or so. I try to come within 150, getting at least 150. So you want to come within about 5 of what is recommended. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you have a great Friday. Thanks for joining me on Fat Bomb Friday. We'll do another one next week. I hope this information was helpful. If you like the channel, subscribe, like it, leave your comments below. I'm open for suggestions. I love your opinions and comments. So yeah, thanks so much. Have a great day.